Hello, my name is Kat, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite book villains. So this video today includes a paid promotion with Disney Book Group to celebrate the graphic novel edition of The Isle of the Lost. Now you might be familiar with this franchise because there are movies and several books written by Melissa De La Cruz, and now a graphic novel which just came out on September 4th. And the story for the graphic novel has been adapted by Robert Venditti with art by Kat Fajardo. And the basic idea of this series is that 20 years ago, all of the evil villains of the Disney world were banished to this one island. We follow a teenage girl named Mal who is the daughter of Maleficent, and Mal wants to prove herself. So when she hears that there's this mysterious cursed object on the island, she decides to gather up a group of her friends and try to find it. So yeah, if you like Disney and you like villains, then this is definitely a series you want to check out. And especially if you have enjoyed the movies and the books, then the graphic novel adaptation is probably something you want to add to your collection. And now, in honor of this book, I'm going to share with you guys some of my favorite book villains. So let's get into it. So the first villain that I want to talk about in this video is not a surprising one. I have to talk about the Darkling from the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. The Darkling is such a fascinating character. Sure, he's done some evil things, but you're still drawn to him. I can't say a whole lot more because I don't want to spoil anyone if you haven't read this series yet. If you haven't, it's fantastic. Read it. The Darkling is great. Next up, from An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, we have the Commandant, who is such an evil woman. Oh my goodness, I hated her so much. It was great. I love this book, and part of that is because she's such a great villain, but she's evil. She's pure evil. I actually haven't read the other books in the series yet, so I don't know if the Commandant gets more evil or if she has some kind of redemption arc. I feel like that's a strong no because she's very evil. I don't know if I'd want to see her be redeemed. But yeah, the Commandant is definitely terrifying and evil, and I liked reading about her because I have a thing for bad characters, okay? Next up, I want to talk about Vicious by V.E. Schwab. It was difficult to choose which Victoria Schwab book to talk about because I was like, okay, I have to choose one. And she's so good at villains. I was looking at my shelf and I was like, ooh, there's some villains from the Darker Shade of Magic series I could talk about. Or in the Monsters of Verity series, we have so many great villains and monsters. But I decided to go with Vicious because the two main characters in this book are so interesting. And the way that they are villains to each other, but not necessarily villains in their own right, I love their relationship and the dynamics of heroes and villains that this story plays around with. And I am so excited for the sequel, which is coming out very soon. Next up, from the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor, I want to talk about Viago, the White Wolf. Now, I admittedly tend to have a soft spot when it comes to villains. It's why I loved Rhysand from the beginning of the ACOTAR trilogy, and why I loved Warner from the beginning of the Shatter Me trilogy. I am drawn to bad boys. It's a character flaw. But Viago, the White Wolf, is definitely an exception to that because he is genuinely awful and terrifying, and I loathed him. I remember being actually scared of him and wanting nothing to do with him. I love my evil men. He's too evil. He is too evil. Next up, from the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, I want to talk about Maeve. Now, this series has several major villains, But Maeve is one that really stands out because she is very dark and complex, and especially after reading Tower of Dawn and learning some new information about her, like, I'm afraid of her, and I cannot wait to see what is going to happen in the final Throne of Glass book. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, some haters might say that this next villain doesn't count, but, like, there are 2 main characters in this book, and one of them literally calls the other one a villain several times. So, you know, Baz. He's not a villain, he's just a boy. Is it weird that I almost have this book memorized? Tyrannus Basilton Grim Pitch. I love him. I love my precious cinnamon roll villain, and I don't care if you guys don't think he's a villain, because Simon thinks he's a villain, so he counts as a villain, even though he's, like, precious. So yeah, basically, Baz is one of my favorite characters of all time, and this is probably my favorite book of all time. So yeah, you better believe I'm gonna mention it anytime I can. Next up, I gotta talk a little bit about Sebastian from the Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare. Now my favorite thing about Cassandra Clare's books has nothing to do with villains and antagonists. Like, I love our protagonists. I love their complicated, melodramatic relationships and all the angst, and, like, that is what I am here for in a Cassie Clare book. And maybe the reason why I like Sebastian so much as a villain is because of all, like, the drama and angst that he causes. But he's also just a great villain. He's so evil and twisted and sick, and, like, it's just fascinating to see him ruin lives and do terrible things, and you don't root for him, like, you want to take him down, but because of who he is, you still kind of hope for his redemption, even though, like, can he be redeemed? Read the series and find out. And finally, from the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, I want to talk about Umbridge. There are so many fantastic villainous characters in this series. Like, from our big bad, Voldemort, to characters like Snape, characters like Lockhart. Like, there's plenty of baddies in this world. But oh my goodness, Dolores Umbridge just outranks everyone on the evil meter and the knees a punch to the face meter. She is the worst. Now, I can see why people would be drawn to, like, Voldemort's side, you know? He's all about amassing power, and he has that, like, dark wizard aesthetic going for him, which, you know, I dig. I understand why people would want to side with the Dark Lord, but Umbridge, like, I feel like if Umbridge tried to join up with Voldemort, Voldy would be like, nah, lady, you take things too far. I can't mess with you. She's that bad. But you guys know that, right? Because you've read the Harry Potter series, right? Alright, there you have it. Those are some of my favorite book villains. I would love to hear from you guys if you want to share some of your favorite book villains in the comments down below. But yeah, that is it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will have another video up eventually. So I will see you then. Bye!